Monday, 26 August, 2024. Rob Browne, Brendan Martin.
I'm drinking moonshine because it's game week.
It's game week. It's time to drink out of a mason jar, a clear mason jar. Hey, we've got a great show on store for you today. Starting off, the big four games this weekend. We'll have Jordan Hill, 24/7 Sports on Georgia Clemson. We'll also have Ron Higgins from down in Baton Rouge talking about LSU and Southern Cal out in Las Vegas. We will check in again with Loren Meadows, GatorBaitMedia.com, Florida and Miami in the Swamp Saturday. And, of course, Olin Buchanan checks in from College Station, Texas A&M and Notre Dame, a fight out at Kyle Field Saturday in College Station. So,
I love when Florida State loses.
Well, hey, they 24. I had Georgia Tech to cover. So, look, let's take it now. Smash that subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner and allow the notifications on your Android and iPhone and tell your friends, your family, your neighbors.
Or hit the QR code right here, and it goes right to the YouTube channel. Subscribe for free. Bam, you're in.
Yeah, and look, Dr. Arnoff is on here right now. And listen, I will talk to you this morning because I was fishing on the Spring River all weekend, and we caught 219 rainbow troutses up there. We could only keep the legal limits, of course, which we did.
Killing it.
Yeah, it was awesome. Here we go. We're coming back. Get pen and lots of paper handy. A lot to talk about.
Lots to talk about.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, man. This is it. We are 120 hours away from Saturday. Now, Missouri.
Can't believe it.
I know it is. It gets here. My son told me last night, he goes, it'll be over before we know it. Missouri kicks off Thursday against Murray State. And Arkansas also plays UAPB in Little Rock Thursday night. But Saturday, again, I call it week one. Well, we got a few minutes before Jordan Hill joins us, kind of recap the weekend. Georgia Tech, I had Georgia Tech to cover minus 10.5, plus 10.5.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I thought Georgia Tech would take that thing down to the wire. And their offensive line is really good. And Doug Dean sent me some notes. I want to bring this up with you, Brendan. And I'm sure everybody watching noticed this. But Doug makes a good point. He said on the show, talk about the impact of the new running clock. It's shortening games. FSU coach Mike Norvell said that every play became critical as Tech had chewed up clock so much. It's a subplot to watch. Brilliant coaching by Brent Key. Frank Duffy says, run the damn ball. With the new rules, Les Miles might be making a comeback sooner than expected. Bring back Lester. Okay. Maury Gaston, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Doug Dean. DJ lose a lot of Alea, in my opinion. My response to DJ Uiagalelei, too many transfers. 3 years at Clemson. 1 year in Corvallis with Oregon State. And now he's at Florida State. He's not going to win a game for you. He better have a strong supporting cast. FSU, not as dominant as they were last year with Jordan Davis. Did you get a chance to see that game from Aer Lingus Field in Dublin? And that crowd, of course, that's the land of my ancestors. We're all from Galway Bay and County Donegal. I'm Scotch-Irish, of course. That crowd loved it, Brendan. I can see more games over there.
Look, who was the guy at SEC Media Days that we talked to? What was the guy?
George Somerville from Touchdown UK.
I mean, if that doesn't tell you right now that the sport of football is now, not just America's game anymore. People find it more of an exciting game. Look, I've worked in TV trucks. I've done every sport that you can do, from twiddly links. I mean, I have done it all. I've done chess games, you name it. And,
Yep.
there is something special about the sport of football. It's more entertaining to watch. And, I love soccer. I love watching
Yeah.
it. But professional soccer, I know a lot of people are going to be pissed off. To me, is very boring. It's not fun to watch. Now, because you have to know soccer and you have to get into the strategy. I get it. And I know a little bit more. I think it's beautiful. But I'll watch the highlights. Thank you very much. Because 2-0, 3-0, that's not very exciting. So I'm not surprised, because I think Europe in general is a huge, they consume sports like we do over here. So,
yeah. Well, so it's interesting. I recommend everybody go get this book, order it on Amazon or go to your local bookstore. But it's called Born Fighting. It's the history of the Scotch-Irish in America by James Webb, former U.S. Senator, a Democrat from Virginia, Reagan's naval secretary of the Navy. He wrote this great book, and it's about why we love college football so much in America, specifically in the South. He said, the Celtic culture, Scotch-Irish, Welsh, British, we love good fighting. We love, hell raising. We love drinking. It all goes in with college football. And you could see the crowds over there in Dublin. They were just passionate about it. And the FSU took a lot of fans, it looked like. But I think they like that cheer, da-na-na-na-na. Don't throw darts at me, people. But I do think, hey, Brendan, we've got to get George Somerville back on the show. He said the growth in college football over there, it's amazing to watch. Did you think that the running clock did have an effect, or was it just the line of scrimmage? Georgia Tech just dominated, especially with their OL.
I think Georgia Tech. Look, these games are funny, right? They're trap games all day long. How do you travel? How does a team travel internationally? All that kind of thing. I felt that off the line of scrimmage, I thought Georgia Tech dominated, the game of inches. Because when you got a game like this, right, everything counts. Do I think the clock makes a difference? Oh, 100%. I watch every home game on the field and go to a couple of away games for all the Florida games. You see, like, when you're down there and you see that clock ticking down and they're trying to get in plays and all that stuff, you do notice, that it is chaotic. Now, does it help to have, the voice of God in your helmet now? Does it help to be able to hear coach, to able to get plays up? I think it just tightens everything up. And every play matters now. I mean, not that it didn't before, but even more so. Do you think, Rob, will change a lot of, strategy or a lot of schemes? You think coaches are going to try to key off this and then, make more of a quick set offense? Are we going to see a faster game a la arena ball or something, in that effect? I mean, what do you think?
I think it's going to change things. And also you got the communication in the helmets, where you can have a defensive player out there getting the calls. That's going to change things. But what you're going to have is smart guys out there on the field. You go back into the 2019 season, Alabama, their middle linebacker, Dylan Moses, out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I remember he did all the checks, called in all the signals on defense. He wasn't there, and they struggled to an 11-2 season and gave up 46 points to LSU in a loss in Tuscaloosa. Of course, Joe Burrow and that team were pretty they won the national championship, and they lost to Auburn 48-45. Yeah, it's going to make a huge difference. And the running clock will too. Jordan Hill says he hasn't seen the link yet. If you could send that to him again, hopefully it's going to go through. But anyway, we'll get Jordan on here in a minute. I think that the changes that they're doing, I'm against anything that makes college football more like the NFL. Not that I don't like the NFL. It's that college it's a different game. But you can also argue anything that can better prepare the college guys for the NFL is a good thing. And I can assure you, if you're a coach and your program gets the reputation that you're not good, your staff is not really good at developing the athletes that you bring in for the NFL, you will struggle in recruiting. And it will not be a pretty sight to see. And we're going to talk with Jordan Hill here in just a minute.
Oh, you have to send me his info. I don't have Jordan's information, so I have to.
Oh,
send it to me.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
You can text it to me or his email.
Audrey sent it to you last night.
She did?
She said she sent all the emails last night. Sorry about that.
All right.
Everybody should have it. But anyway, looking at what's happening in college football, we watched Florida State, Georgia Tech. Also watched the Nevada it was in Reno, SMU at Nevada. Okay. SMU was at Nevada and they were struggling. They were down 24-13 and they came back and won. And that's a term that I use a lot about finding excuses to win. And they did that. Okay. And SMU, I don't think they're a great team. They're now a Power 4 team, though. They bought their way. They literally, they bought their way in. But that was a hell of a game. And the Georgia Tech Florida State game there were only maybe 6 games on the day, but those two were really good. A Power 4 team, SMU, and then 2 ACC teams, Georgia Tech and Florida State. You're going to have different outcomes with these rules than expected. You start speeding up the clock. You don't stop the clock. It's going to change things. I definitely think it is. And that you're going to see it. Look, a team that is overwhelmed in terms of talent. Now, Georgia's got more talent than Clemson does. But between Clemson and Georgia in the last 9 years, you've got 4 national championships. And then there's another 3. So 7 times in the last 9 years.
9
Clemson
times.
7 times in the last 9 years. 9 times. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23. 7 of the last 9 years, either Clemson or Georgia, one of them has played for the national championship. This is going to be a big game. It's going to be kind of a big deal at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta Saturday, okay? And yeah. My bold statement of the day, Friday, was Memphis is going to make the college playoff as an at-large team because I think they're going to run through the American Athletic Conference. Injuries, everything can change that, but I look at it not just on paper. I look at the result. I think they can do it. I think Liberty will be up there. Those are my top 2 at-large candidates. Everything good with Jordan now?
I'm texting Audrey,
yeah.
So we'll see in a second. She's going to probably send it.
She was supposed to have sent that to you last night.
It's all right. No worries. We'll get it done.
So,
okay. I think that it was an interesting start to college football. I'm excited for this week. I'm excited to see how this all changes the game because I think we have a lot to look forward to when we see these bigger programs take the field. What kind of game are we going to see? I think we're going to see a little bit of a different game. And I think we saw that on Saturday. I think we're going to see these tighter games. I think we're going to see, what did they say to us, Rob, at SEC Media Days with things like AI and all the different coaching and all the different, strength training and the money and everything else now that athletes are going to perform 30% better in the next 10 years. They predict that they will be better by 30% in the next decade. I mean, that's going to change the game all by itself.
Well, it is. And you've got strength coaches are huge. They spend more time with the athletes than the coaches do any day.
Right.
I mean, that's
especially during the off season. They're considered to be the head, the head coach in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And Doug Dean, another great note. I didn't know Brent Key is a Birmingham Hewitt-Trustful, which is one of the schools right there in Metro Birmingham. Hewitt-Trustful product. As a player at Tech, Brent Key beat Georgia 3 straight years. That would be the Paul Johnson years, I would imagine. Look, Georgia Tech, I was over there. I go to Atlanta a lot to see Mallory. And I'm there a lot. And you go over on Georgia Tech's campus, they don't lack money, but what's been hurting them has been apathy. And now you beat Florida State. Now you start, shaking that cup. in NIL, you can wake up some people. I mean,
Yeah.
Georgia Tech is a very proud tradition. They won 6 or 7 SEC championships. They've won some ACC titles. They won 4 or 5 national championships. What's hurt them, though, is they've got so many foreign students that really don't understand it and love college football. It kind of hurts. But as Tony Barnhart talks about it, and he'll be at the Touchdown Club of Memphis tonight at 5:30. If you are in the area and want to go, if you're a member, great. If not, you ought to join. Got 9 great speakers this season, and you get a meal and you get to hang out with a lot of football dudes, and you're going to get to hear a lot of really cool inside stuff. Okay, I will say this: the interest in college football. We talk about NIL, we talk about the portal a lot. It's just getting stronger. The interest is getting stronger. Okay, and Brendan Audrey said last night everything was sent to you. So I'm,
Yeah.
I
got it. Just
okay.
Yep. Yeah.
You got everything
it.
okay. She said we sent it last night about 8 or about 9 or so. But I'm looking here, and I'm going to tell you, I was with Auburn and Alabama people all weekend on the fishing trip on the Spring River. Auburn, 8 or 9 wins. My son said the goal ought to be a national championship every year. You got to raise the bar. I said, I do. But I tell you, the last few years, if you're an Auburn fan, you've almost felt sort of like odd man out at the party with Georgia and Alabama, your 2 biggest rivals, running college football. They've owned it. And you look at a brand like Florida. That brand, along with Auburn, both of them mired in the worst 3-year runs in their programs since the late 40s. And that's about to change. And again, the narrative on Florida, it's so, well, look at that schedule they play. Look, everybody's got a tough schedule. And all these teams that you think are going to be so damn good, it doesn't work like that. Get logo fever if you want. But I think Saturday, look, Josh Pate, CBS Sports, Josh is fantastic. And Josh, hopefully he's going to be on the show Friday. We're working with him and keeping our fingers crossed, but he's got a busy travel schedule. But he made a good point about Miami. I heard him on the Chuck Oliver show Friday. He went to their practice. They've got talent. Everybody, and he's right, everyone talks about Mario Cristobal. They don't talk about the players at Miami. They've got some players. Cam Ward's a pretty good quarterback. So it's going to be, it's going to be fun to watch how this plays out Saturday in the Swamp. That one Saturday, and I'm not looking at the line on it. Florida, and if Florida beats Miami, they beat Utah in Napier's first year in 2022. Didn't have.
That was a huge game in the Swamp. That was AR went nuts.
Yeah, it was. But they didn't follow up with a
coming home. Yeah, they didn't come. Well, then they proceeded to lose to Kentucky and Vanderbilt and everybody else that wanted to beat them. So.
Yeah. And we'll get this in. Is Jordan Hill? Let me know when he's in the studio.
Yep.
I'm telling Audrey what I think of her.
Yeah. Oh well,
right now.
Post the show, and then I'll worry about later. I've got emails out to those guys. Plus, I sent Jordan a message on Twitter, so I'm sure they'll pop in here just shortly.
Yeah.
So
anyway, I just think if Florida beats Miami Saturday, they've got to follow through. When they beat Utah a couple of years ago, that was a big win. Utah was number 7 in the country, but there wasn't a follow through. And you had a hell of a quarterback in Anthony Richardson. You got to follow through.
There's Jordan.
Yeah, and Jordan's going to join us here now. Jordan, sorry about that. Mildred, my secretary, sent all this stuff out last night. I don't know what's going on, but we got
Jordan.
You
don't believe it. Don't believe any of it. Mildred is the glue that makes all of makes Rob and I go around. Hi, Jordan Hill. How are you, sir? You there? Oh, your mic's off. Muted.
Let's see.
There it is. Yeah. Now we got
Jordan.
TV.
Good morning. It's game week, man. I can see a different look in your eyes. You're excited. I think the fact that Georgia Tech got a win has got you really excited. Maybe that's going to make that rivalry at the end of the season exciting again. But big one with Clemson Saturday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I'm sure it's sold out. And what are you expecting? I think Georgia's a 12.5 or 13-point favorite?
Yeah, I actually saw the other day that it has sold out, which I don't think should be a surprise to anybody with it being Georgia and Clemson having to go just down the road there in Atlanta. But, I mean, I'm expecting a pretty good ball game. I think Clemson's able to cover this. I think it's going to be a situation where, talking to people and getting ready for this game, in my opinion, if Clemson's going to have a chance, Cade Klubnik's going to have a big game. And to me, when you say that, that means on the other side for Georgia, I look at the defensive line where we've talked about for quite a while that they've been banged up, that they've got guys that have to step up. And then the secondary where I think I think they've got a pretty good feel for who's going to be out there, but I think that they're still waiting on some of those guys to totally prove that they're able to be out there. So I think it's going to be a good game. I think I'd be surprised if we see a 49-3 situation like we did with Oregon a couple of years ago. But, I think there's a lot of excitement, a lot of reason for it.
Well, Dabo likes being an underdog, and it's not often that Clemson's an underdog, but a double-digit underdog, they're going to come out swinging. What is it about Clemson, offense, defense, special teams, whatever, that if you're a Georgia coach, the staff is going to keep you up at night?
Well, I think the biggest thing is some of the guys they got coming back on offense with Cade Klubnik, with their leading rusher from last year. I mean, I think you see that they've got an ability to score points. And, I think – what should have Georgia people, Georgia fans, and the Georgia staff confident is that they've got an offense too that's ready to score and ready to go out there and put up points. So I think it's a situation where Georgia's going to take them really seriously. I wrote about this morning, but Kirby's always been one to not get hung up on the past and not get hung up on, our team's supposed to win it all. And if anyone needed a refresher, they can just look at Florida State this weekend. I think it's a situation that Georgia understands what they're signing up for. I do think that it helps that this is a marquee opponent. We're not going to see them. They play Tennessee Tech in week 2. If that was a week 1 game, maybe you see a half where you're like, they're leading, but it's kind of sloppy. Yeah. I think they understand they got to show up ready to go, and I think they will.
What did you think about the running clock in that Georgia Tech Florida State game? Doug Dean, one of our members of the show on the roundtable, said, ask your guest about that.
I mean, the fact that there were so few possessions is just wild, and I think that shrinks the margin for error. You cannot afford to have very many 3-and-outs. You definitely can't afford to turn the ball over. I wish, that we would see more possessions just because of what that would mean and, putting up more points and stuff like that. But, I do think it has an effect where it's going to be harder for teams to blow out other teams. They got to really earn it. They got to maximize the possession. So it was pretty wild. And, if you get into a game where you cannot stop the run, it may be a while before you get the ball back.
Well, and you look at, we try to have 2-minute warning and all that stuff and speed the game up. That's what we try to see happening. Do we want to mirror the NFL? Are you a fan of that? Because anything, like I said, I'm against anything that's going to make college more like the NFL, but at the same time, whatever you can do to prepare your college guys at a program like Georgia and Clemson, it matters because a lot of them are going to play in the NFL. Are you for anything that better prepares them for the NFL?
I'm okay with that. I think my biggest thing is I'm okay with fewer plays just in an era where we're going to have teams playing a whole lot more games, especially those playoff teams. And I got to point out, Rob, because this really bothered me on Saturday, they want us to call it the 2-minute timeout. Nobody is going to call it the 2-minute timeout. I don't know why they decided that's going to be – that is not – it's a 2-minute warning. That's what it is. And I really hope people who are calling the games come to their senses and just say, nobody's buying this. It's a 2-minute warning.
I like that. Listen, man, Jordan, that is a great point. And I like – we had George Somerville. We met him at Touchdown UK. He covers college football over, and he lives in Glasgow, Scotland. He said, oh, my God, the interest in the game over there. And I mean, it's directly related to our Celtic, Scotch-Irish roots down here. We love fighting. We love football. I always tell people, hey, look, the people in the South in the movie Braveheart, we were the folks on the other side of the field with the blue face paint. That's college football in the South. As a Georgia, you're a journalist, man. You worked at Auburn for 6 years. You have respect of a lot of people. I know people that know you. That's why you're on that. We are blessed to have you. What is motivating? What's the behind the scene thing that's really motivating Georgia this year to go 4 straight years without a regular season loss, to win a 3rd national championship in the last 4 years? Those are obvious. What else?
I mean, I think it's just a mission of going every day. I really don't think that people see it as, well, we lost to Alabama last year. We fell short. I mean, I wrote about this on Monday. Carson talked about, that, whether we went 0-12 or 12-0 last year, it doesn't matter. We got to focus on the here and now. And I do think that they believe that. And I think that's something that Kirby preaches. So I think it's more of just a daily motivation. I don't think they get hung up on what happened in the past. I think they understand that they're a really talented team. They got areas to work on just like any other team. And I think they're excited to get to Saturday, get this thing rolling, and see how far they can take it.
What you look at this Georgia team. Running backs, receivers. Go back 10 years ago. I mean, just 5 years ago, Georgia had 13 running backs in the running back room. What's the depth chart look like right now? And who do you look to emerge as the 2 or 3 guys? Because it's pretty much running back by committee now everywhere I look.
Yeah, I mean, leading the way, Trevor Etienne. We're still trying to figure out his status for week 1. Based on what I've heard, I don't think he's going to play against Clemson, which that opens the door for Branson Robinson, a guy that tore his patellar tendon last August. He's come back strong. I think he's got a really good opportunity as redshirt sophomore year. A guy that I think was going to have a big opportunity as a sophomore, Roderick Robinson, and just posted this on the Junkyard board, had a procedure last week. He's been dealing with turf toe, so he's going to be out for quite a bit. So really, besides Branson Robinson, the guy I'm watching right now is Nate Frazier, who's a true freshman who was really, really impressive, did a good job in fall camp. They've got options. I still think they're in okay shape, but definitely some big questions going into week 1.
All right, a couple of more minutes because we got a little behind schedule, and I don't mean to go so fast, but really appreciate you having on. If you are looking at this Clemson team compared to the previous Dabo teams, what's really different about them besides Cade Klubnik, 5-star recruit, has kind of underwhelmed up to this point?
I mean, truthfully, Rob, I don't know just because we haven't played a game yet.
Yeah.
It's always harder to kind of preview these teams. But the thing that I'm watching is their defensive line. And some guys that I can remember covering or at least seeing in high school, Peter Woods from Thompson High School. I think he's ready to be an All-American caliber player. T.J. Parker, who played at Central Phoenix City, I think he had a really productive freshman year as well. So to me, when you look at this team, one, they need to see Cade Klubnik take a step forward and see if they can replicate what they were able to do on the ground last year. But to me, I really want to see that Clemson defensive line. I know that those guys are really, really talented. I think they're capable. Let's see what they do against a really good offensive line on Saturday.
Yeah. Give me a score prediction.
I'm going to say Georgia wins 30-17. I think that might have Clemson cover. That's right there. I'm just not convinced that Clemson can stop Georgia's offense enough times. And I think it'll be a pretty competitive game. I think 3 quarters in that Georgia might have like a 1-possession lead, and they kind of stretch it out in the 4th quarter. I do think it's going to be an entertaining ballgame.
Hey, look, great stuff. Jordan, let people know how they can follow you. And as always, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Love having you on here. Sorry for a little bit of a mix-up on the schedule this morning on the link. We'll get that fixed next week.
Yep. Dogs247.com on Twitter at Jordan Davis Hill, on Twitter at Dogs247. So it's game week, fellas. Super excited for it. We're going to get this thing going.
Well, one thing for sure is you were a running newspaper on X. You put out tons of content. Folks, follow this guy. He's awesome. See you next week.
See you guys.
All right. Hey, Ron Higgins joins us right now from down in Baton Rouge. And Ron got the email yesterday. I've been on the Spring River all weekend trout fishing. Men's club at St. Louis was having the football kickoff thing, and I was over here working, preparing for the show. And I'm like, hey, it was going to be Greg Gaston. I think I know Willoshin was going to be there, and maybe Eli Savoy was going to be there. But it's kind of like a Knights of Columbus meeting when you get over there at St. Louis. Any old business, any new business. Okay, meeting's adjourned, bars open. I missed you being up here, man.
there's not much Robert's Rules of Orders, not there's no decorum whatsoever. He might take a vote on anything. Good, let's drink. All right, Wallow, you're up.
Yeah. Hey, Shreveport Bossier Journal. Let me ask you something. Before we get to football, I love that show, True South, with John T. Edge. It's about the food and the culture.
Yeah.
They had the restaurant of the guy, and unfortunately he passed away from cancer, that was there in Shreveport. I've been through Shreveport a few times when I go to St. Augustine, the oldest city in Texas, by the way. But that's another world out there that it's a cool city. You're all over Louisiana. I tell you, one of the best shows we've had was a couple of weeks ago when you had the rant about the 19-year-old kid saying, you don't have to answer that question if you want to. I've had more people go, you got to get that guy back on. I said, man, let him go. So let's talk, get your thoughts on, you're with the Shreveport Bossier Journal, but let's talk about this LSU game against Southern Cal out in Las Vegas. And then first off, your takeaway from what happened over the weekend, and the question of the day from Doug Dean, who's a member of our show in the Friday Roundtable, the impact of the new running clock in college football.
Yeah, it moves the game quicker, and you have to make quicker decisions when something like that happens. You just can't, run out of bounds and expect to the clock's going to stop, which is it makes it But again, you also now you have quarterback to you have coaches to quarterback communication in headsets. So does that offset it enough? I don't know. It might. Stuff gets in quicker. You don't have to look to the sideline to wait in those situations where time is of the essence. So maybe I might be a wash. I don't know. I loved that game, man. Tech and Florida State, loved it.
Yeah.
Look, there's a lot about college football that I hate.
Yeah.
It's become. I know players need to get paid, but I hate the NIL crap. I hate the transfer portal guys transferring every year. You look at the guy's resume, he's transferred 4 times. LSU had a guy, he transferred from LSU to Oklahoma, back to LSU, and now he's somewhere else. LSU had a quarterback, TJ Finley. I think he's transferred 4 or 5 times now.
Yeah.
And so you hate that part. You just want to get to the games almost. And a game like that kind of makes you forget all the peripheral stuff leading up to it, all the off-season, just like, God almighty, they got this guy with transfer portal. This guy wants this much money. That's what makes college football great. I just love the fact, look, we all kind of pretend we know what's going to happen, or we can guess what's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. That's why for the past 25 years, I've had a weekly picks column with my dog. My dog picks games. You know how he picks games? He lifts his left leg to take a whiz for the away team. He whizzes for the home team with his right leg. If it's a neutral site, the team that's close to the neutral site location is the home team. My dog picks games. And a lot of times he's well over 50%. Just picking
pretty good.
And that's my point. Like, everybody's sitting there analyzing statistics. Oh, I mean, this guy, their third down defense was awful last year. And my dog's whizzing and picking games.
Well, don't we see it in March Madness every year, Ron? Yeah. We're like, oh yeah, my wife liked the colors,
exactly,
this team, and so they picked this, and so they have this success with it.
I mean, you look at the game day panel over the weekend. Now, Florida State's going to kill them.
Yeah.
Pat McAfee, who was proud of the fact he drank 32 beers, good for him. I mean, I mean that's an accomplishment. Let's go over across the ocean on ESPN money and just. I drank 32 beers. Great.
Yeah.
God, I'm sorry. I just don't. I'm trying to like the guy, and I'm sure he appeals to younger generation.
I feel like he's trying to be a white Charles Barkley in a lot of ways.
And you're not going to be Charles Barkley. Okay.
No, you're not going to be Charles Barkley because you're not going to give up a 30-year salary for your crew like Barkley just did.
Yeah,
it's a different kind of guy.
Yeah, you're not Charles Barkley. You'll never be Charles Barkley.
No.
Charles Barkley was Charles Barkley. He was that way back in Auburn.
Right.
When I asked him when he left Auburn, I asked him why'd you leave school early? He goes because Sonny Smith couldn't find any more passes I could pass.
Yeah, he told him you got to go. Yeah,
and so you can't beat Charles Barkley. There's only one Charles Barkley, and so. But the game day crew, everybody got it wrong. But even though I do love Nick on the game day, I think he brings something different.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of college football. When you think you got it figured out, you don't. And I love that. I love that game. I love how Georgia Tech held together that last drive. You know, the big negative play when the guy mishandled the snap.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going, oh my God, no! Mm-hmm. And then they get the yardage back, and the guy kicks a field goal. And I saw George O'Leary in post game, Georgia Tech's former coach. I mean, that's a perfect place for Georgia Tech to win. A former Georgia Tech coach and an Irish guy. I'm sure he had a Guinness for 8 after the game.
Yeah.
But I love the weekend. I mean, I hate the week 0 concept. I think too. That's something that ESPN foisted on us.
Yeah.
It's week 0.
Yeah.
How? You don't start with 1.
No, and it screws you up the whole year because you're 1 week behind when you're looking for information.
The hour countdown.
Yeah. It's week 0, so it didn't count.
Right, it didn't count.
But I love the first week, and it kind of set the table for this week because there's so many good opening week games.
Yeah.
It's not just a directional school with a hyphen in its name versus somebody. You love it. I mean, and again, we'll go back and God rest his soul, give Mike Slive credit for this, man.
Yeah.
Back in the day, he told athletic directors and coaches, you need to have one really good Power 5 school on your schedule, preferably to start the year.
Yeah.
Of course, don't be crazy like Florida and book Miami at the beginning and Florida State at the end.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing. I'm picking Florida to win this game this week. I
think they will.
I really believe in Florida to win this game. I believe Florida's going to be better. Okay. I just can't believe you have that much talent in the state and you can be not that good for so long. And I just think I like Graham Mertz. I like him. I think he's a really good quarterback. Billy's had some problems putting this stuff together, and they've had their NIL adventures. And look, and you're in a state going against Florida State, which has one of the best collectives in America. Yeah. And then Miami, which tries to buy anything that moves. So it's been tougher for Florida, but I really believe I don't know if it's an upset special. To me, I mean, it is because everybody thinks Miami's going to win, but I think Florida's going to win that game.
Ron, what do you think about Billy not bringing in an offensive coordinator? Do you think something like that makes it, because he's very unorthodox with his coaching staff, even down to the titles of some of the staff, the co-OC, co-defensive coordinator, like a lot of different sort of like, do you think that plays in at all? As far as, Billy being not as, he's more of a smash mouth, double tight, run it up the gut kind of guy. Do you think that plays with the personnel that he's got, and I know you're not studying the roster, but, last year the knock was offensive line. They still got some holes. Now you got a different quarterback and DJ Lagway back there potentially, who's now AR-like, with more brains and more talent. You've got Graham Mertz is great, but even Billy said at the beginning of the year, he's got to take more chances. He can't hold the ball as long. And now we're seeing a lot of that. What do you think about Billy not having just a straight up OC up there on headset, talking to him about the game?
You wonder how much confusion that causes for players. Like who's really in charge? I always wonder that. Now LSU's got co-offensive coordinators, but clearly who the guy is calling the plays. Clearly there's a clear-cut line of demarcation who's calling the plays. But I always wondered about that. Our co-defensive line coaches or co-anything, or our passing game coordinator and running game coordinator. Short down coordinator. I mean, third down coordinator. I mean, I think coaches hand out these titles.
Special teams specialist coordinator guy, not on the field, but what the hell is that?
Guys sitting at home watching the game on TV, dialing in the special teams plays.
Right?
Yeah.
I just think coaches a lot of times to keep assistants say, listen, I'll give you more money and I'll give you a title. Okay. Yeah. I'll look good on the resume. But I always wondered, does it really cause confusion for, unless your clear cut, who does what?
Yeah.
Well, the LSU 2019 championship year, Ensminger was the offensive coordinator. He called a lot of plays, but a lot of times he deferred on Brady to Brady to call third downs. Joe Brady, who was, of course, everybody gave a ton of credit to LSU's offense with Burrow for opening up, and he did have a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But there was a clear line that they worked together on stuff, but again, players have to kind of figure out who's really.
Look at Florida last year, say it's during South Carolina. With the debacle at the end of the game, can't get the right personnel on the field. When you look, I was in Salt Lake, and one of the things I talked about is just it looked disorganized on the sideline. When you've looked at these things long enough and you've played the sport or whatever, you want to see that cohesiveness on the sideline. You want to see these things. You have more and more people. Sometimes it's a bad game of telephone, don't you think?
Oh yeah, that's why I think the headset's a good idea. You're going to hear one voice, hopefully. And the player can get in quicker and can't get confused by it. So I hope it's better. I just think a lot of times titles are titles. So but I know one thing, not anymore. But in the past, when you looked at a team's staff, and you looked at a guy and he wasn't part of the main coaching staff. He was a support staff.
Yeah.
And you didn't know exactly what he did. That's your bag man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You never knew exactly what he did. Like, what does he do? Well,
don't ask.
Yeah. He's the bag man. That's who he is.
You see the guy on the sidelines hugging everybody, and everybody comes and talks to him. Hey, look, Ron, stay with us if you can. We're going to have Loren Meadows from GatorbaitMedia.com check in with us. And then we're going to have Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com on after.
My man. Olin? The only movie star among sports writers.
He still gets royalties, by the way. You know that, don't you?
My nickname for him is Mox is one man. Mox is one man. My man, Mox is one man's coming on.
I love it. Oh, Loren has got a good coaching background, and he's part of the Gator Bait Media and the Buddy Martin Show. Yeah. And let me say another thing real quick about that LSU Southern Cal game. Are you going out there to Las Vegas? And what a place for LSU to open the season. I know there won't be any shenanigans going on out there, but and I forgot to ask you, how much beer you think they sold at that game in Dublin Saturday? And did Guinness just have like trucks out there? They love college football over there, and I'm glad to see this happening.
I'm sure quite a bit. That's why LSU has kind of been talking to the organizers of the Irish game to play a game over there. I'm sure Ireland would love that.
Oh my God!
They'll give LSU fans a long flight home to dry out, which would be good.
Yes.
LSU's got 30,000 fans going to Las Vegas.
Wow.
I'm sure they'll start filtering in on Wednesday, and the game's just on Sunday.
Yeah.
Time to, really drink and pass out and rally again. So a couple of times. So, LSU's going in on Saturday, the team. They're looking at this like another road game. But LSU fans are up for this game. It'll be interesting. These teams are a lot alike. They really are.
What does your dog think? Score.
I had it. Let's see. My dog had it like 30. My dog and I always pick the score. He just picks the team, but I think I had it I got to look at like 30, 31, like 30-24, something like that. I mean, I think it'll be a 30-27. I think it'll be a tight game because you got two teams that have completely rebuilt defenses. I mean, really.
Yeah. Yep.
And rebuilt defensive staffs. I mean, LSU rebuilt their whole defensive staff and invested $16.11 million in them.
Wow.
USC fired a whole staff at one guy. The difference is 11. I mean, everybody on USC's defense except one guy is a transfer. LSU's defense isn't that way. I mean, a lot of them are fresh transfers. They got a couple of guys from Oregon State, a couple of guys from UCLA. The UCLA defensive coordinators at USC now. So that's why this is so interesting. Both these teams are, I think, 104 or worse in defense last year nationally.
Yeah.
And so, you're looking at two coaches with similar records going into their in this season at their present school. New starting quarterbacks replacing Heisman Trophy winners.
Yeah.
So that's what makes this thing so intriguing. I mean, it's not a LSU's favorite, but it's not clear cut. But LSU needs to win this game. They've lost 4 straight season openers, which is which ties Nebraska as the most straight season opening losses among the Power 4 schools.
Yeah.
So they need to win the game.
Well, it's going to be fun. Loren, jump in here with Ron Higgins of the Shreveport Bossier Journal, Hall of Fame writer, one of the best, and just
absolutely
talking about this Florida-Miami game. We talked a lot about it on my fishing trip over the weekend, and I've heard a lot of people talking about it. But everybody's talking about, like Josh Pate said on the Chuck Oliver Show Friday, everybody's talking about Mario Cristobal. They're not talking about the talent of the Miami roster, but Ron's right too. Florida's the second most talent-rich high school football state in America behind Texas. There is zero excuse to not have 9-10 wins every year if you got somebody in charge with a good noodle.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at, look at Florida, some of the talent they've accumulated over the past 2 years, in-state talent. But yeah, I mean, you talk about, Miami, and I mean, they got everybody. I mean, you look at down the line on paper, it's the same thing as the Florida Gators. They're loaded. I mean, they got 2 future NFL tackles. I mean, they got Francis Mauioga, and they got on the right tackle, they got Jalen Rivers, who will definitely play on Sunday. They got his older brother, Francisco, at middle linebacker. I mean, they got Bain at defensive end, who was a freshman All-American. I mean, they have it's like everybody's been waiting on both these programs to take that next step.
Yeah.
And it's always something. I mean, even Miami has arguably the best kicker in the country, who, is the younger brother of a previous Lou Groza winner. So, I mean, when you look at these rosters, they're very similar. I mean, Florida's got an Australian kicker. Miami's got an Australian kicker. I mean, there's a lot of parallels. They got a great, they have Restrepo at the slot. Florida has Eugene Wilson in the slot. I mean, I think there's a reason why this line is only about 2.5 going into this game, because the teams are evenly matched with a ton of question marks. Florida's got questions at safety. Miami lost 2 safeties to the NFL. I mean, it's a very, very similar makeup of both these football teams. And then you have the head scratchers. You have the, 13, 14 men on the field with Florida, the end of the Arkansas game, the end of the Missouri game that kind of linger. You have Miami running the football against Georgia Tech when they could have just laid down and took a knee. And it's like, where is this coming from? And both these programs, like you said, are enriched. I mean, you talk about Central Florida and South Florida, and they both pull from each 2 of the richest high school communities as far as talent in the entire country.
Yeah.
And they just can't get it done. And both have kind of taken this, Howard Schellenberger, I can't remember exactly what he called it, but he called it the unified district of Miami, where they only pulled from about a 3-hour radius. Billy Napier has done the exact same thing in his recruiting, and it's peaked and it's got better. But when it comes to results on the field, and we talked about this, it's just those head scratchers. But if you look at these programs, they're very evenly matched. There's going to be some great matchups. I mean, the matchups in the slot. I know that Miami's nickelback, he transferred from Washington. Florida's got a transfer safety hybrid guy from Washington. I mean, it's so similar when you break down these rosters that, it's just going to be an interesting football game, and who breaks first. And I would almost say that Miami with the edge at the kicker position, Florida might need to, if they can, get ahead and kind of jump on them early so it doesn't come down to the kicking game, because based on what we've seen, Miami does have the advantage there.
Yeah, Ron, you listen to that breakdown by Loren, and you remember Howard Snellenberger. I remember 1979, they were homecoming opponent for Alabama, got beat 31-0, but then they began to put a lock on Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. About 100 D1 players a year come out of there, and then Buddy Martin and Franz Beard's term, the muck. You know that, Ron and Loren, Lake Okeechobee. Belglade, Clewiston, Immokalee, Pahokee, towns like that. Ron, make a case for Florida winning this game, and I know you feel good about it, and what they can do with that, because 2 years ago they got the win over number 7 Utah in the first game with AR at quarterback, but was it too much of a hangover, I think, from the Dan Mullen era or what? But they've got the 9th most talent-rich roster, according to the Blue Chip Index in America. Florida does. 63% of their roster is 4- and 5-star players. It's time to put up, isn't it?
I can't give any logic on this. It's just like one of those gut feelings. I just feel like they're going to be better. And usually in the season opener, you're fresh, you're not beat up. I don't know. I just looked to say. I think Florida's going to win this game. I just like their personnel. I know Mertz held the ball too much, but you know what? So did Jaden Daniels his first year at LSU. Okay,
it worked out for him. I think
the difference is Jaden Daniels could be 25 yards downfield in a blink running the ball. Which was his first offensive play at LSU against Florida State as a quarterback, running 25 yards on the first play of the scrimmage. I don't know. I just for some reason I have faith in Florida. I know LSU plays Florida late in the year. I think that this for LSU, that's going to be a tough game. Even that's part of Florida's killer ending. But it's one of those things that LSU's beaten Florida so many times in a row. It's like they're due. I think LSU is personally responsible for getting Dan Mullen fired. Cade York kicks a school record field goal in the fall. He couldn't even see the goalpost. I really do. So all the people didn't like Dan Mullen. Send Cade York a thank you note every now and then. He just got traded. But it's just a gut feeling. I'm not there with Loren who watches him practice every day. It's just, sometimes I have a gut feeling about stuff. I just feel like this team, I don't know if it can maintain, but I just feel like I think it can win an opener against Miami. I don't know why. I was looking at all the games and ones I was really got the little bit on, and that was the one. I just thought, Miami for some reason they always, past few years, they're always supposed to be better than they are, and they're not. And y'all live in that state, Loren, and maybe y'all know why, but it just seems like they don't. And it's probably unfair to compare Miami teams in the past, way back when they were, absolute renegades and did what they wanted. But they never live up to expectations, really. It's kind of like Texas A&M, who always gets hyped and like they never quite get there. A&M's problem's always been basically under Jim Wood's quarterback. Always had terrible quarterback. Never had a good. Besides Manziel, what back in the day. When really A&M had a decent quarterback lately, except for the guy that went to Georgia Tech and won the game the other day.
Haynes King,
Haynes King.
I'm sure A&M's going, but how do we get rid of him?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just a gut feeling. I can't give you a technical breakdown. I mean, like I said, Loren knows better than I do. But one thing I looked at, I said, I'd be willing to take a risk on that if I was putting some money down. Yeah.
Yeah. Loren, talk about, Montrell Johnson. What's his status? He's been out since August 3rd or 4th. Is it going to be a game time decision? Is he going to be like Brian Kelly last year, giving an injury report a la the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be just like that. I mean, we've seen that from Billy Napier, and you already know the answer to that, Rob. It's going to be there's not much is going to be said. I mean, he may allude to the fact that Montrell is scheduled to practice and, will be limited, and, they'll bring him along slow. I mean, the great thing about it is, after 3 years of college football, Montrell Johnson doesn't need a ton of, reps and things like that. I mean, he's been in this offense for 3 years, his 4th year in the offense, but, it's going to be cloak and dagger, in a lot of ways. And not to fool Miami, that's just Billy Napier's way of not giving anybody any information. That's just the way he is. I mean, you kind of figured that out. But I look for Montrell to play. I think I think they were enthused. And I will say this, a couple days after the procedure, he was in full tilt, on the field, not doing a ton, but he was fully dressed. So, that was a good sign for Gator fans that want to make sure, and here's the thing. And Rod, you've been around football long enough. It's not in running the football. They got guys that can tote it. They got the Treyon Webbs. They got the Jaden Bobs. They got Cam Carroll. They got a lot of guys, Jacoby Jackson. It's the protection. And we're talking about a quarterback that we just mentioned may have held the ball a little too long, a retooled offensive line. Montrell Johnson is going to be so key when it comes to picking up guys like Francisco Maliaga when the time comes. Is to step up, punch those guys in the mouth on a key 3rd down, which he has been able to do. And that's where it's going to be key. But, I'm kind of with Ron too. I mean, I'm picking Florida just because I think the quarterback's better. I do. I think that, a lot has been made about Cam Ward throwing it all around the yard in the 7-on-7 league that was the Pac-12. And that's why Utah, I think, was so successful the past few years in that league, is because they were the one team that would kick people's teeth in. And I think, the SEC, for as much flash as you guys know, and I wrote an article, I'm actually about to publish it here in a minute, this game is going to be decided in the gutter, in the trenches. For as much has been made about the quarterbacks and Cam Ward and Mertz, the guys that I just mentioned, and then you throw in the defense with Justice Boone and Tyreek Sapp and all those guys at Florida, Cam Jackson, Caleb Banks, that's where it's going to be decided. And the ACC has been seen as a softer league than the SEC in the trenches. So the SEC is going to prove that they're the bigger man. And the ACC is going to have to prove that they can stand up to it. And that's what a lot of people are banking on, is that despite their struggles, Florida front 7 is still better than what the ACC has to offer. So I think that's what it's going to come down to, as well as I think Mertz will outplay Cam Ward. I'm skeptical on the whole, how that transition will go, but we'll see. I mean, but a close game, I think, favors Miami. If Florida can kind of jump out, I think they can get out in front and kind of start to, I think your boy Ron Roberts has something for that. Yeah. Where teams don't get back in the game, so to speak, and they kind of start to create some of that creeper action and force Miami into some turnover, because it's going to be loud. I mean, I know they got the headsets, but just like anything else, you got to learn to do this and deal with the headset and push it together. And what you got, like 12 seconds to get it all in. I mean, it's going to be interesting, even with the crowd noise and that kind of thing. And you can't simulate it. No matter what you try to do, it's very tough to do so because adrenaline and those kind of things. And so,
well, I'm going to give Ron, you get the award, a sack full of crystals, for using the biggest word. We had a class, word wealth, in 10th grade at Christian Brothers High School with Brother Stephen Schonhoff. We had to study words. The line of demarcation. I like that. I like to use the term, Ryan, And when you're on, Loren, with true grit journalists like him and Buddy Martin and friends, you subconsciously indent 5 spaces to the right. Ryan, I love having you on here with Loren and Jordan in that first part. Olin Buchanan's going to be on. He does a show 8 to 9 a.m. Central in College Station, Monday through Friday. So literally he's so good, and we've been missing him because we changed our times. I'm going to start having him on as much as we can. I love this discussion. Look at this from Kerry Jones. Texas A&M versus Notre Dame, LSU, Southern Cal. Should be a fun weekend. Prediction for my team in 2024. Kerry Jones up in Lebanon, Tennessee. Auburn 9-3, including a win in Tuscaloosa. Losses to Georgia, maybe at Mizzou, UK, Oklahoma are all possible L's. Guys, and I'll start with you, Ron. How fired up are you about this? And Tony Barnhart's going to be at the Touchdown Club tonight. I wish we could get you up here to the Touchdown Club to speak to us, because when we get y'all, your knowledge of the history is incredible. But even, like Tony Barnhart says, not even the adults can screw up college football. Look at that crowd we saw in Dublin. There may have been a little Guinness involved, but, man, they were having fun, weren't they?
Yeah. I mean, I just think there's a lot of people who don't want to play a tough opponent in the first game. I know LSU's lost 4 straight, but
yeah,
one of them was at UCLA, and the other 2 were Florida State back. So give them credit for playing somebody.
Yes,
I think. Everybody has their own. Look, LSU's playing this game because it's Vegas. It's somewhere new for their fans. It's a nice payout. Teams get paid nicely.
Yeah.
I just think it's good for fans to have a really good matchup in the first game a lot of times, and be able to go somewhere different they haven't been. That's one of LSU's big things when they try to put new people on their schedule. They had Oklahoma on their schedule before they joined the SEC. They were going to play Oklahoma. They got Utah on their schedule. They're supposed to play at Utah. God forbid, and all the drunk LSU fans going to Salt Lake City. Talk about you can't get a beer where in the state of Utah, really? But I like first games like this. I like to have some intrigue. Texas A&M and Notre Dame. That's I love something like I love culture clash games. Look, you got a guy in a leprechaun suit versus an all-male cheerleading squad dressed like mental hospital attendants. That's a great culture clash for your first game. I love stuff like that. When Tennessee played at Cal, that was a culture clash of, a lot of Tennessee fans have never been to California and seen stuff they've never seen before, like a naked guy in a tree outside the stadium.
Yeah. Hey, well, what I've noticed, and I flip around, watch SEC Network a lot, but ACC Network, Big Ten, when they were out there on ACC road trip in Berkeley and Palo Alto for Stanford, I'm going to tell you what, man, America does need more of what college sports bring. It pulls people together. And it also creates interest from people out in California and in Dallas with SMU coming on. And they got that win the other day. Rhett Lashley, the guy, he played for Gus in high school, played at Arkansas. SMU raised $150 million in a week. They've got the wherewithal to compete. But I'm with you, the culture clashes. And Olin is in, so bring Olin Buchanan on in here from TexAgs.com to join us here in a minute. But I think it's cool, Notre Dame at A&M. And the fact, who doesn't remember the 86 or 87 Cotton Bowl with Tim Brown in Notre Dame? Olin Buchanan on here with Ron Higgins, Shreveport Bossier Journal, Loren Meadows, GatorbaitMedia.com. Let me tell you something, Olin. I love having you. You're muted. Olin, you're muted. Can you unmute your mic? Okay, you there? Okay. Olin.
Took Tim Brown's towel in that game.
Olin, you there? Okay. Hey, Olin's muted. Muted mic here. let's see. Hopefully he can come on. Olin, can you hear us? Okay. All right. Olin, it's something on your mic. We're having trouble hearing you. See if my producer can help here. Yeah, we'll get him in a second. But Ron, that's a great point. It's culture clashes. But, Cal Burke, think about this. Cal will play in Tallahassee against Florida State this year. And then 195 miles north, they'll come up to Auburn and play September 7th. So they're going to be what are the odds? I think that's pretty cool. Cal Berkeley twice right here in the Southeast, down near the Florida, Alabama, Georgia line. I think it's creating a lot of interest around the country. And that's what's happening right now is it's getting people. And I think, Ron, you nailed it. And Loren, it's getting people that are maybe on the fence. I just know this. Once the games start, all this other stuff that we talk about in the off season, it goes out the window. You just think about that. And also, once you're a little more mature as a player, the speed, everything's fast at first, then it sort of slows down. And we get to watch from our perspective and give opinions on it and all. But man, the interest in college football, Loren, is it's just going to get stronger. And if people want to be negative, Ron, that's their right. But I think the interest in college football is going to grow. And Tony Barnhart's right. Not even the adults can screw it up. David Whitley's right. It's pretty much idiot proof.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, like I tell people, everybody talks about, I don't like NIL and the transfer portal and all those things. And I tell people, I told them 2 years ago when all this was starting, everybody relax. As long as it's 100 yards wide, 100 yards long, 53 and a third wide, and there are 22 grown, fast, incredible athletes on the field, the game will remain. And that's the biggest thing is you covered a lot of things, but the game itself, and that's what we talk about. We've talked about it on many a show. It's those 12 Saturdays a year. That's what you're judged on. That's your sample size. All that other stuff, you talk about Billy Napier and some of the stuff he's got going on off the field, which is great for young men after they stop playing football. When we talk about football, that's what we're talking about is those 12 Saturdays that occur on that rectangular space where they're getting after it. And that's the thing. And then, you talk about these cultures being brought, the liberal culture of Cal Berkeley coming to Toomer's Corner, so to speak, and that experience and what that's going to do. I mean, in my own life, it's
going to be fun. Is what it's going to be.
Well, absolutely. I tailgate with a diverse group of people every Saturday down here in Gainesville. But it's all about the love of the Gators and the game of football. And that's what you're going to have there. And what that will do for the experience of, like you said, the Cal fan. I mean, Auburn, Alabama is one of my favorite places in the entire country when it comes to a sports town. Mm-hmm. And I was there for softball. It wasn't even for football. I mean, so imagine on a football day what that's going to be. So, just having that. And, I mean, I'll say it out loud. Tallahassee leaves a little bit to be desired as a town, but Doak Campbell is so rich in history, and you got to appreciate that with Chief Osceola and those things. So all of those things Cal is going to be a part of, and then vice versa. And all that exchange, I mean, you think about it, this country was built on cultural exchange. Yeah. So it can't be a bad thing. So
no, it's not. And Olin, you got everything squared away?
Think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, sorry about all that.
Wait. I can hear you. I can hear Ron and his mental patient. If anyone wants to know what mental patient orderlies look like as LSU fans.
Hey, I'm not denying that. Hey.
Y'all know each other, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not denying that. I mean, that's why LSU fans are going in on Wednesday. They no,
my son's one of them.
You know,
Yeah.
you know this from your movie days. LSU fans are about puke and rally. Okay, there you go. My man Mox is one man. Puke and rally.
Left West Canaan, went straight to Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I mean, so LSU fans. There's nothing to deny about that. They
Olin, let me ask you something. TexAgs.com. This is one of the genuinely, really super nicest people and also great journalists. I think were we all in shock when they announced, Kirk Bowles, Houston Chronicle. What a world we live in after 51 years with the Austin American-Statesman. Here's a native of White Oak, Texas, Ron, a town of 2,500 people with a football stadium that seats over 5,000. Bam! Let's talk Aggies, Irish, Saturday, Kyle Field. 250,000 will be crammed in there. 500,000 tailgaters. I'm embellishing just a little bit, but take it away.
First of all, yes, it's amazing. Ron Higgins has worked everywhere in Louisiana, and now Kirk. I worked with that. He's my mentor, and that bastard didn't even tell me he was moving to.
He's my hero. I told him this. You're my hero. You're the oldest free agent I've ever seen that they came and got you. I said, you're my hero. Yeah.
But as far as the game, not 250,000 in Kyle Field, but there'll be 110,000 plus.
Yeah.
They will be, I think, sufficiently prepared with a lot of, liquid motivation and all things like that. And it's going to be a great atmosphere the way college football is supposed to be.
Yeah. Talk about Mike Elko. He won at Duke. There was another guy that won an ACC championship at Duke in the late 80s, Steve Spurrier. And there was a lot of questions. Well, it worked out at Florida. We all agree on that. Let's talk about Texas A&M. They have everything, just under $20 billion on the endowment, I think. They have everything that you need to succeed. You cover that program, you and Billy Lucci and the great people at TexAgs.com. What do you see in different? You've got one of the best offices in America. You open your door on the practice field. I mean, life is good. It's great.
What's different is, what we think is different, right? Because until they actually start playing, we don't know. But I've been out to practice. Things seem a little more, a lot more organized. Yeah. I think there's a lot more accountability. Look, Jimbo brought in some really good players. Yeah. But I think that sometimes maybe the inmates will run in the asylum, since Ron's going to make those jokes about white guys in white coats. So the inmates will run the asylum sometimes. I think you're going to – and then, Colin Klein comes in to install offense. So I know Ron will be able to I'm sorry, Loren, we just haven't met, so don't know.
Good day, sir. How you doing? That's fine.
But I remember Ron was very critical of Les Miles' offense.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day. And I think we got a pretty good idea of what Ron was talking about here. And when it might have been a lot different. You know what? Jimbo might still be the coach here if he'd let Bobby Petrino actually run the offense, but new offensive coordinator. So I think there's a lot of reasons to go, if you follow A&M, to go in cautiously optimistic. Let me emphasize cautiously, because if any fan base should have learned not to take anything for granted, it's Texas A&M. So cautious optimism, but a lot of that optimism is around just a new approach from the coaching staff.
Yeah, I like your quarterback. I think you finally got a guy. I do. I mean, he was great against LSU last year. I just like the guy. He's the first guy I've seen y'all had in years who's just he's steady. He makes plays. He doesn't do anything particularly dumb. I like him.
He doesn't throw interceptions. He's thrown 2 interceptions, and neither one of them was his fault. They were against Miami last year, and it was wet. And one of them was going to be about a 15-yard completion to Nia Smith, and Nia slipped. Yeah, he slipped, and so the guy behind him intercepted, and then the other one was on a 4th and goal late in the game, and like he was throughout that whole game, he was under heavy pressure. So it was either take a sack or throw it up there and hope for the best, and it got intercepted. So other than that, he hadn't thrown an interception in 12 games that he's played.
Yeah. Oh, is this Notre Dame's first game at College Station?
No, they came down here. Oh gosh, I couldn't tell you. I'd have to go back and look at 90. Gosh, I couldn't tell you the year. A&M won the last time they came here. And then, you say College Station, they played, of course, in the Cotton Bowl a couple times.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been down here before.
Okay.
Loren, jump in this melee.
It's always special when Notre Dame.
We're going to be seeing Loren in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, you will. You make sure you say hello, sir, for sure. I'll see you in the press box.
That's the GatorbaitMedia.com people and Buddy Martin.
I gotta go up in the press box before the game, and then I gotta go sit with the missus in the stands for the rest of that's what so that's what you have when you got a wife that's a huge football fan. But no, I mean, you talk about two of the most historic programs I think around. I'm an 80s guy, so when I start falling in love with college football, it was around that time with Tim Brown and that Cotton Bowl game. And then I think a few years later they played, in the 90s when Notre Dame probably got cheated out of the national championship that year. But, I mean, Marcus Freeman is someone I've known since he was in high school. I coached against him. So, following Marcus from everywhere from Ohio State to Kent State to when he was at Purdue. I mean, just to see what he's doing, with his program. Aaron Mickens, his defensive back coached against him in track. He was state champion in 300-meter hurdles in high school from lane 8. So you could appreciate that, Rob. But just the familiarity with both programs. I've been to College Station, enjoyed that game day atmosphere. Those people are unbelievable. They got a great concession stand there in College Station. But once again, this is what makes the game great. And to have these matchups, that's what you're going to get from now on year after year. Yeah. Because of the sample size in a lot of ways has shrunk. And now you don't have this dichotomy everywhere. Everybody's in the same boat. And now they're going to be jumping on these type of games. So you talk about the first week game with LSU, USC, and then Notre Dame, Texas A&M, the history there, and Notre Dame in a lot of ways fighting to remain relevant in a lot of ways as a program because everybody's jumping into conferences and Notre Dame's still fighting the independent / ACC fight. I think this is a big game for both programs again. And you look at, it's kind of like I kind of put Florida, Texas A&M, and even Miami kind of in the same boat because it's supposed to look great on paper, but it's just been a little off the past few years. And, there's a lot of reasons why maybe they should have let Petrino take the whole boat over. But, it's one of those things where the talent has been there when you look at the roster and then the results haven't followed on the field. So I think this once again is the opportunity for these two football programs to try to put their stake on things early. And, this could be, if Texas A&M jumps out with some of the games they've got coming up, they make a trip to Gainesville Hill later. If they get hot, who knows? I mean,
Olin, and you think about the temperature of the fan base at Texas A&M. I mean, I've grown up. I remember them coming to Memphis in the late 70s when Curtis Dickey was their tailback. I went to the Memphis A&M game. Their fans are just, they stay in the entire game. They've got tradition down there. I've got friends that go to games out there. They get in a rickshaw and they ride all over campus drinking cold beer. You can't beat that. What's not to like?
Well, you need that. A&M's pretty big campus. Pretty spread out, and it's pretty hot. So you need somebody to, to ride you around in a rickshaw while you're drinking a cold beer and stuff. Look, A&M fans always go into season, hoping for the best, sometimes expecting the best, while at the same time waiting for the other shoe to drop. Right. And it's not the other shoe that drops. That's the problem. It's that guillotine that always drops and severs their hope. Last year, you look at A&M in the regular season 7-5. Rob knows this. A&M was in the in the fourth quarter of every game with a chance to win.
Yeah.
Either had the lead or with a chance to win,
Yeah.
and they did not make the plays. And Loren said it. The roster hasn't been the issue. And they still have a really good roster now. I think their defensive line could be among the best in the country. The secondary was a problem last year, but they brought in a kid from Alabama, a kid from Kansas State, another kid who's from where'd BJ Mays go? Group of 5 team, and they feel like they've made progress there. But you got to see it. You got to see them actually playing well, and then B, you got to see A&M get to a point where they make that play in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
that results in a win. Not they're at the 2-yard line last year against Alabama, and end up having to settle for a field goal. Things like that. Will a new coaching staff, and it's not just Elko. It's a new offensive coordinator. It's a new defensive coordinator. It's a new strength and conditioning coach that Ron's very familiar with, Tommy Moffitt.
Offensive
line coach. There's so many things that are there. A special teams coach. A&M's special teams the last 2 years have been a travesty. Ron's good with big words, I heard. Come up with go through the whole thesaurus for travesty. They all apply to Texas A&M special teams, and yet they didn't have a special teams coach. So Elko brings in a special teams coach. So you take all those things, and here are some reasons to believe they'll be better. But until they actually show it, until they actually make that play, that is the difference between winning and losing. You have to be somewhat skeptical.
Yeah. Ron, you know what he just talked about. You heard Mike Elko. We all did out there at Media Days. What jumps out to me is this guy's very smart. He could be mistaken as a fund manager, on Wall Street. He's very, very, he gets it. What are you saying? We just got a couple of minutes. We'll wrap up. We went a little long today, but we're going to start doing that whenever Olin's on. We may even start the show later. No, we'll make sure, because we got to have Olin on, because you do a show 8 to 9 every morning. But Ron,
it's the Olin rule. We'll have the Olin rules.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
the show doesn't really start rolling until Mox's one man shows up. Okay.
What's that royalty check looking like, Olin? From the movie?
What?
The royalty check from Friday Night Lights.
Hey, I got one just about a month ago. 4 figures.
My man, my man.
I love it.
Yeah, because when you get royalty checks, they're like 15 cents.
I borrowed a book. I never have gotten a royalty check from that.
I never got one, except that one guy paid me to write a book about him. I made more money on that than anything. But if you write a book, you get a royalty check of 35 cents. Hey, wow. Hey.
I didn't even get that. Somebody told me he bought my books, and I found it for 50 cents. I told him, you got gypped.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, guys. We're going to wrap up. Ron, you did the foreword for that book, Call Me Billy, about Billy Donovan.
Yeah, I did the whole book. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That is a great book, because I talked to Logan a lot, young Logan, a lot. And just, I'm going to tell you what, Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com, Loren Meadows, GatorbaitMedia.com, Ron Higgins, Shreveport Bossier Journal. This is what I love about this show, having 3 guys who work their asses off to put out great content, and you can follow all of them. You need to do it, because you can watch TV, but you watch these guys, you read what they're saying, you're going to comprehend a lot more. We're going to close out. Olin, let them know how they can follow you. And same thing with Ron and Loren, and we'll be back tomorrow. We got another stacked lineup.
Okay, I'll go fast. You can check us out at TexAgs.com. That's just an abbreviated version of Texas Aggies, TexAgs.com. You can follow us on Twitter at TexAgs. You can follow me on Twitter if you're so inclined. I appreciate you would, just by that name right there. So if you can figure out how to spell my name, you can figure out how to follow me, and there it is. And just always remember, America starts with A&M.
Oh, man.
Well played. Well played.
Ron Higgins.
Louisiana starts with Mardi Gras and party and not giving a crap. Really, that's what we're all about. What in doubt, drink. ShreveportBossierJournal.com. It's a free website. We're like me. We're free, cheap, and easy. TheRonHiggins.com. You can go there. And that's about it. And so I'll be in Las Vegas going in Saturday, coming out Tuesday.
Nice.
I hope to not, I've been there before, so I know all the ropes and where not to be, and where not to get arrested. But LSU fans don't know that, so that it'll be a look. That's the game within a game this weekend. LSU's Vans versus the Las Vegas Police. That's the game.
No doubt.
I love it, Loren.
They let them have a little leeway out there, so they should be okay.
Yeah. Well, look, man, this is what we do. This is kind of a rapid fire Monday. Big week ahead, 120 hours away from the first weekend. Thank you all again so much, everybody watching. All of our sponsors, Sidelines.live. And Loren, say one more thing and we'll wrap it up.
Oh, no, I was just going to say Loren Meadows on Facebook, Ohio Gator for Life, Instagram, Real Ohio Gator on X. And follow us on subscribe, like and subscribe, Buddy Martin Show, 4 days a week or 5 days a week, Monday through Friday this season. And then Gator Media, GatorBaitMedia.com. So,
all right, look, it's here, folks. Get ready. You better be. Look, it's. You think last year was great? This year is going to be even better because there's a few new rules in here. But we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're out of here.
All right, Jim.
See ya.
You bet.
It's fun, guys.
So important to shop local and to buy American. For 60 years, Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company has been on the historic Collierville Square, and we strive to sell made in the USA products when available. With over 7,000 pairs of Western boots and work boots in stock for men and women, come and see our huge selection of clothing, jeans, and accessories from top brands made in the USA. Please support local business and come shop with us at Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. God bless the USA.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal and the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.